Today, on this beautiful day of April 6th, I have exciting news for student loan borrowers. I'm screen sharing here to go over some of the latest news. The payment pause has been extended until the end of August to be restarted in September. That's the top headline, of course. But I want to come with some more nuanced news for the legislation that's simultaneously being discussed. That they're going to roll out more details in the next couple weeks. So, of course, Biden mentioned he's going to extend it through the payment pause through the end of August to give borrowers extra time to get back on their feet after two of the hardest years this nation has faced. Of course, they mentioned that this is short of what many Democrats had requested and called upon. I chose this article, by the way, because it goes over some more details that may help those who have previously defaulted on their student loans, as well as what is some other legislation coming into effect that may impact the start of payment, right? So, of course, we know the Democrats are unhappy because that means payment starts like a few months before the midterm elections, which have been highlighted in other articles. But this article highlights the fact that the administration will allow all borrowers with pause loans to receive a fresh start on repayment by eliminating any impacts of delinquency and default and allow them to enter repayment in good standing. What that means is if you've made late payments, you've defaulted, they basically are going to say, oh, forget it, forget you ever defaulted, forget you ever made late payments, you're going to enter into good standing. Exactly how this is going to be executed, we don't know yet, as in, like, will they erase it from your credit? Like, what exactly is going to be done to build this fresh start? So when that news gets released, I'll make sure to share what it means. But basically, if someone enters into default, they have two possibilities, right? They can consolidate or rehabilitate their student loans. And the consolidation, of course, requires paperwork. But the rehabilitation process also does with a debt collector. And so Elizabeth Warren's calling for the 8 million people in default to nix requiring any paperwork. And that's not just default in federally backed student loans, but federally guaranteed private loans as well, which are like FFEL loans lent by private institutions that are federally guaranteed, to just basically nix the paperwork requirement and allow these 8 million borrowers who previously entered default before March of 2020, like before the pandemic CARES Act pause, to just basically start fresh. I say quotes because I say start fresh because we never know how they're going to execute and how complicated it's going to be. Like, it could actually be more troublesome. But this is what Elizabeth Warren shares. Borrowers usually have to fill out paperwork with debt collector firms to start the process, but Democrats are pushing the administration to nix this requirement. So they're trying to make it easier for defaulted borrowers to get out of default, which I wholeheartedly agree with. If they're in default and they're willing to make their payments now, why make it so hard of a paperwork process for them to just freaking start making their payments? Let them just start. Like, why do you have to require all this paperwork, right? And I get it legally, it's to move somebody from collections back to repayment. But I think we can make it much, much easier for borrowers, including simplifying the entire IDR, income-driven repayment program plan, and consolidation process. It's a huge pain in the butt. So I'm 100% in agreement with this. We shouldn't create more barriers to people to understand what it is they're supposed to be doing. Here at LoanSense, of course, we help people through this process and help with this paperwork process because we know how confusing it can be. Do we think it should be this confusing? No. But if it does confuse you, like, you're not alone. A lot of borrowers are very confused by this. So I just want to report the good news. The payment pause has been extended. And if you're a borrower who has previously been in default, or I don't know if it includes late payments. As we get more nuance updates on the policies, I will let you know of all the different rules. Let's see what else. There's some more student loan news, but I just wanted to start with the most the most important one in terms of the payment has been extended, as well as the impacts to defaulted borrowers, right? Let's see. A lot speculate that this is like a step towards some form of forgiveness. I mean, there's speculations in these articles, but I would not say that it suggests that this is true. I think the administration more genuinely worries about the fact that Fed loans and Navient are transitioning servicing, and student loan borrowers will have a new servicer, and that's going to create a lot of confusion and wreak havoc. And so they're just trying to let the transition happen before they start the payments again. So I just wanted to point that out. By the way, just to know, so you know a number, borrowers saved nearly $200 billion during this pandemic by not having to pay interest on their student loans. $200 billion. That's a lot of money. So when people are like, I never got any student loan forgiveness, well, this is a form of it. We're not paying interest in this time, right? So, and by the way, less than 1% of people have continued to pay. So anyways, I'd love to read this. Restarting payments could threaten Americans' financial stability, the president said, citing the research from the Federal Reserve that forecasts a rise in delinquency and defaults when the bill begins again. So here's the thing. I'm really happy Biden is helping people who have defaulted on their student loans. I'm really happy he came up with expanded public service loan forgiveness and all these other programs to help disability, student loan borrowers with disability, or those members, men and women who served, and those different programs, right? And he wants to help those who have defaulted in the past. That's great. But what we're lacking right now is help for those who are projected to default. What kind of help can this administration give to those who are projected to default? The number one policy in place currently that can help is enrolling into these income-driven repayment plans. That's number one. What the government, how Biden's going to respond to the future unprecedented amount of default, I'm very eager to see. I'm extremely eager to see. And then, of course, disproportionately, Latino and Black voters favor giving student loans, and it makes sense because minority borrowers are more impacted by having debt than non-minority borrowers because we have more debt and fewer resources to pay the debt. So that's interesting. Anyhow, I just wanted to give this quick news update. The servicers are also getting super tired of the government, like going back and forth. Are we going to start or are we not? Because every time a servicer thinks we're going to start, they hire more staff to help with the volume, but then we don't start. So they're also getting frustrated. So the government's lack of action in terms of answers around what they're going to do in the long term is helpful to us because we don't have to pay as student loan borrowers, but it is frustrating to these servicers who are having to hire people and feel like the cost to service our student loans is rising more and more. So anyways, it's interesting because Mark Kantorowicz say borrowers are unlikely to take the September restart date too seriously. So the more extensions the government provides, the less likely we will take this seriously. So anyways, until anything official is released, we need to and it's officially released, it's extended till September, but we can only go with the information we have to this point, right? So we'll keep you updated with further news as it rolls out. In the meantime, if there's any student loan assistance you need, if your student loans are impeding your ability to purchase a home or other financial goals because it still counts towards the debt to income, please let us know. We can change those numbers, those equations, and help you achieve your goals. So myloansense.com. If you like this content, please forward, subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of the week.